mic, camera, action.
So all we need is a service truck like that one, a work shirt like hers. You think Stella can pull it off?
I have my doubts. There's no talking to Charlie, though.
You think he's mixing business with pleasure?
Yeah, I should know better. Only I'm allowed to do that.
Right. Where you going?
A work shirt and a service truck.
Are you kidding me? How does he do that? How do you do that? What are you saying? Hey, how are you? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Nice to meet you. I'm Handsome Rob. And you are?
Oh, my name's Becky, but it's written on my shirt.
Listen, I'm gonna need your shirt and your truck.
Perfect, I'll give them both to you. Would you like my virginity as well?
If it's on the menu.
Oh, you're so witty. Why don't you take advantage of me?
Yeah, you're not too bright, are you?
No.
Perfect.
Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the focused filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. For episode 8, I'm joined by handsome Tony Farina to discuss the 8th appearance of the Stath in revved up remake The Italian Job. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. So, Tony, thank you so much for returning to the show to discuss this in title only remake starring the Stath.
I've never seen the original, so I'm excited. I went back and forth, and I know you did, as I try to follow you on Letterboxd. I try. I'm bad at that. I was better when everything was when everything was in one place before. It was a little bit easier. But I did go see. I saw you went back and watched the '69 Michael Caine version. So I didn't realize it was remake in name only. So I'm excited to come here. This is one of my wife's all-time favorite films. And when you said, that's why when you put the list up, I was like, oh, I own Italian Job. That's it. I don't own it. It's in my house. Yeah. One day my wife said, you've never seen the Italian Job? And then she went to the store and bought the DVD, and then we watched it.
Nice.
That's how much she loves it.
Yeah, she was passionate to share it with you. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, I guess what might have clued you into it being a remake was the fact it's mostly not set in Italy.
Right. Right. The Italian Job is the beginning of the movie.
The first
I
10
know.
minutes.
Yeah. No, and again, having not seen it, I didn't know that could also because the Italian Job in this precipitates the events. So this is the fallout of the Italian Job.
Yeah, and it does refer back towards the end of the movie as well. I actually really like how it plays with what people were expecting from this movie, because so often you go to see a remake of a film and it's either a classic, and I'm not sure the Italian Job 69 Michael Caine is as good as people think it is. It's so influential in this country because of it being Michael Caine, because of the minis, because they're red, white, and blue. The ending obviously is fantastic with the bus over the cliff and I don't know if you, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling this for you.
It's fine.
It's like the bus is like tilting, I don't know, like on the cliff.
Okay.
And Michael Caine's reaching for the gold and it's making the gold slip further back towards the van, and the people are at the other end like trying to balance it out, and the film ends and you don't know how.
Oh, that's awesome.
Resolved.
What a great
So
ending.
Lock Stock copied it.
Yeah,
the Lock Stock with the guns, did a riff on it. So there's lots of things that made it iconic, I think, but particularly the music. The Self-Preservation Society became an anthem for the England football team.
Oh.
So I think because of that, it has this like nostalgic like love. I do like it, but it does have its flaws as most films do. So I think this is one of those times when it's a remake that's bringing something fresh and new to it. It's not just treading over old ground, and it's not one of those, I mean, like Back to the Future, we say it all the time, don't we? Don't remake Back to the Future. There's no point. You cannot improve upon that. Whereas the Italian Job,
yeah.
I don't know if this is improved upon it as such, but it certainly doesn't besmirch the name.
Well, that's good. And I know that for years, they've always said it was in the works. It was on the IMDb page forever, the Brazilian Job. They were going to make a sequel. It seems like it should have happened. Like, it's frustrating. And maybe that would be another fun thing. Maybe they're just waiting. You know, the 20th anniversary is next year of this remake. So maybe that's the time you get the band back together. I mean, Marky Mark is still, he has his own production company now. I mean, you could easily just get everybody together. Stath is obviously at a different stage in his career, but I think he'd do it.
I'm sure he would.
Looked like he was having a blast. Most Stath, who doesn't go by Most Stath anymore. But, you know, what's he doing? You know,
not enough, to be fair, based on this movie. He's brilliant.
He is very good in this. You know, he's a rapper first, right? And then he was in this. He was in Hitchhiker's Guide. He was in
16 Blocks with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, right.
He's brilliant in that as well.
He's one of those singers who moved into acting, and you're like, oh, because Most Stath was a character you were playing anyway. It was easy for you to do, you know, to make the movie. Yeah, no, I think he steals some. I mean, you've got actors in this, and then there's like this rapper. He's like, oh, by the way, hold my beer.
Yeah,
hold my hearing aid. Yeah, he's excellent.
And we need to get into the colourful cast, because I think they all bring a lot to it. Maybe other than one person, but we'll think about that later. But
okay,
I'm not sure about. I think they might have to rename it. Rename. You know, if they do ever get to it. Which I know Mark Wahlberg keeps saying like he wants to do it, and there's a script and this and that. I'm not sure the Brazilian Job is the right name for it. It just conjures up one other thing in my mind.
Correct.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, 100%. Yeah, I probably just because they were like, ooh, let's go film in Brazil. That was it. They were like, we have a reason to go run up and down the 900-foot Jesus. Won't that be fun? Whatever. Yeah, I think it would be, and it's just, it's syllabolically, it's the same, right? You know, it fits, but just do the Australian Job.
Sure. Yeah.
I would watch that. That's just Mad Max, although I guess. So
yeah, I guess.
Whatever. Yeah. No, I would watch it. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
Which tells us a little bit, you know, before we get into breaking down the song movie, what we think of it. Yeah. I think something else, you know, we can go here straight away. I think that is an issue with doing a sequel now, is that another franchise has kind of swooped in and stolen the Italian Job thunder. But also, I think having rewatched this now, the Italian Job, which I don't think I've seen for 10 years, maybe, this franchise owes a massive debt of gratitude to the Italian Job. The Fast and Furious franchise, of course, is from about Fast 5 onwards. I think has looked at this film and thought this is the way to do it. I don't know how.
Having never seen any of those,
right,
I can't speak to it other than I believe that. I mean, I see what they're trying to, because Fast 5 is when they bring everybody comes back, right?
Well, ironically set in Rio.
Oh, was it really? Oh, okay. Yeah. But isn't that the one where the original everybody's there?
Everybody's there, yeah, and the Rock comes in. Dwayne Johnson comes in.
Okay, so yeah, it is exactly that then. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it just seems more and more ridiculous, and it's just one of those things where I almost feel like if I watched them all right now, it would be fascinating to watch all of the Fast movies in order without a break to see when it jumps the shark. If it's 5, I've heard that 5 is when it makes the move from whatever this weird movie is to this other G.I. Joe kind of thing. So that could be interesting to see. I don't know. Again, having seen them, and it's one of those ones where Lee, again, is the car person in our family, and she liked the first one, and I think she liked the Tokyo Drift one too, because that one's mostly car racing. So she likes racing. But I think for her, it's just kind of like it got ridiculous, and it went from movies about fast cars and like a crime story and a remake of Point Break to, you know, G.I. Joe, and she doesn't want to watch G.I. Joe.
No, fair enough. Whereas for me, actually, that Fast 5 is easily the best one by a million miles. It's so good.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the point where it says like, oh, this is the magic formula. The car stuff is fun, but hang on a minute. If we do this and we get the Rock in and we just totally own it and go over the top, it's gone maybe now maybe when we go to space, we've jumped the shark, which is where the last one went.
Was that 10?
That was 9. Fast 10, which they're not calling like fast 10. Like they're missing a trick here.
Why wouldn't you call it that?
I know. I think it's called Fast X, but
Fast
10.
Fast 10 is well, listen up, people who I'm sure Vin Diesel listens to this show. But what I would say is, I'm disappointed to know, but technically, I guess Fast 9 is the 10th movie because of Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
So that's when Jason goes to space. That's all I'm just trying to say is Jason goes to space in the 10th movie, which is the best.
Nice.
So,
well, I mean, if that happens, it would be obviously.
But obviously, well, because if Fast 9 is technically the 10th movie.
Yeah. He wasn't the spaceman, though. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't know that. We'll see if.
And Jason Statham in space didn't work, in Ghosts of Mars. So maybe he's decided space isn't for him.
That's probably true. That is, yeah. Well, who knows? As he's in his 50s now. And while he still looks great in his 50s, don't be surprised if he, I can see him having a Tommy Lee Jones kind of back end of his career. And did you see The Martian? Or not The Martian? What's the one that Brad Pitt did? Ad Astra?
Oh, yeah.
That I could see. I really loved that movie. I had to watch it twice in 2 consecutive days because after the first day, I was like, was that the most amazing thing I've ever seen or was it terrible? I couldn't tell. So I just watched it again. Fucking amazing, it turned out, is what it was. But the Tommy Lee Jones role in that, like crazy guy in space, like I could see in 20 years, Stath is that guy. They're like, let's get Stath to be crazy guy shouting alone in, because I think he'll end up being a parody of himself eventually.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I still have this little place in my heart. I quite like him as the Thing in Fantastic Four.
I would love that.
Like with full on Stath Cockney, like just go for it.
Just go for it. Yeah, Tony. We're just gonna make Ed Grimm. Yeah, I would love it. That would be sold right here. Marvel's listening. We know Vin Diesel's listening. So you've got the.
So when this happens in the future, they owe us some money.
This is recorded. This is a fact. Yeah, brilliant, awesome.
All right, so Leah's the fan. She brought it to you.
Yeah.
And then since then, you reckon you've watched it multiple times?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we watched it that day. So like we've been together since 2005. And we've been married since 2012. It was before we were married, but since we were together. So I would say maybe it was, I don't know, 2007 or something was the first time I saw it. It was just, we were talking about it. She was like, what? So that was it. So we watched it then, and I'm sure I've watched it 2 or 3 times since then. It's one of those ones that if you're like alone on a Saturday and you're flipping around and you zoom past it, you're like, I'm just going to stop and I'll watch that. So I've probably seen it partially a few times too. Just like it's on TBS on a Saturday and I'm home alone. I'll watch the second half of this, especially the second half. So yeah, I've seen it several times. I enjoy it. I think when you watch it now with a more critical eye, and I know this isn't that show, but you're still thinking, you know what I mean?
You can't not.
You cannot. So there's some things that have not aged well, which I'm sure we'll discuss. And there's some things that I thought were pretty forward thinking. So, I am of multiple minds as we get there. So yeah, I've seen it. How many times have you seen it, do you think?
Oh yeah, I'd say at least half a dozen.
Nice.
I think, watching it probably when it came out and thinking, actually, this is pretty good because I had seen The Talent Job when I was younger and was, in that wave of what a cool film. I was a big Michael Caine fan.
It's a law, right?
Yeah. I was sort of seeking his films out.
Yeah. There's not a law. Is there a law or not a law?
I'm not sure. There should be a law.
Is he Sir Michael Caine yet?
Yeah, I think he must be, mustn't he?
I mean, if not, then that ought to be a law. Everybody needs to stop and he needs to go get knighted by the Queen tomorrow. I
mean, I did, to be fair, it was a couple of years ago, but I read his autobiography, but clearly that hasn't stuck, whether he was or not. It was. I would love to listen to him read his autobiography. I think I want that. I want to hear that because you just be like, I like to listen to things in fast speed, but with that, I wouldn't. Actually, make it slower.
Yeah, right. Actually, it would be even better if he did the whole thing while eating a steak, like in Tenet.
Sure.
If the whole time he's reading the book, he's just like, I'm just going to phone this in, Chris. I know you want me in all your movies, but I was busy this week. I will show up for a steak and I get to eat it on screen. I'll never understand. But anyway, sorry.
Well, we know why he did Jaws 4, don't we? That's a very famous quote.
That's right. It's amazing. I can't wait for you to get. Who's doing Jaws 4 with you? You told me this.
Oh, you mean in the Meg?
Oh, the Meg. Yeah,
The Meg,
sorry.
yeah,
Who's
no,
doing-
but yeah, Michael Caine did Jaws 4, didn't he? Back in
Right.
the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
bought him his beach house. I love it. It's fantastic.
yeah.
Why did you do
Yeah.
that film? Why wouldn't I? I was
Right.
swimming in Jamaica, whatever it was, and it
Right,
bought me a
that's
beach
right.
house.
That's right.
Fantastic
it-
answer.
That's it. Spider Dan's doing Jaws 4. Are you doing Jaws 4 with him?
Oh no, is he covering it? Is he?
Yeah, for Alternativity Stories this year.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, no.
Yeah,
me.
yeah. So Jaws 4. Boy, that's exciting.
Oof.
I
I'm
can't
looking
wait.
forward to hearing it because
I hope
there
it's
is a
Andy.
lot to
Let's
unpick
just
there.
say, let's just fingers crossed that it's
yeah,
Andy.
if it's
Make-
not,
Oh, anyway, sorry, Michael Caine. I got down the wrong rabbit hole with my Michael Caine.
no. Well, I mean,
He's
it's
a
a
national
shame.
treasure.
He is, and it's a shame they didn't find a place for him in this because he was in. There was a period around here where like his films are being remade. Like Alfie was remade with Jude Law. Average. It's okay. Alfie is another one which does not date well and should not be remade for a modern audience.
Get Carter.
Get Carter was remade by Stallone, which was awful, and Charade, where he played the younger character in Charade. I think it was Laurence Olivier, was like the older guy in the.
No, Cary. Cary Grant's in Charade. Or is it a different Charade?
Maybe, yeah.
Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn in Charade.
No, this is a different one. I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
it's-
Fair. I've not seen that one then.
And
Okay.
then it was another Jude Law playing, and then so it was flipped, and Michael
Mm.
Caine played the older character, and Jude Law played the younger. So
Nice.
there was this period around here where Michael Caine films seemed to be being remade. So it's a shame there wasn't space for him here in this.
Do you think it was because of the Austin Powers stuff that everybody remembered Michael? Because Michael Caine just plays Michael Caine in Austin
Mm.
Powers. So they were like, everybody loves Michael Caine. So we should put him in things. Is there, I wonder when that came out. Like, I don't know. Is that when the Michael Caine, everybody remembered how amazing he was?
That might be because he did have a bit of resurrection, didn't he? Because he had the Quiet American came out, didn't it, with Brendan Fraser, and that sort of kicked him. got him
Actually,
back
I've
into
not
the
seen that,
zeitgeist.
but that is on my watch list. That looks really good, actually.
It is really good. It's like a slow burn spy movie.
Yeah.
I think it's like a retired spy. That
Yeah.
was really good. Yeah. So
I'll
yeah,
make sure
mate,
I move it up the list. Anyway,
it's
we're-
all around
yeah.
that same sort of era, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird. And do you think that's what the point is? Like Sutherland was like the Michael Caine, like we couldn't get Michael, so let's just get Donald.
I think that's probably what happened, which, not a bad substitute in any
Right.
way whatsoever. We'll take Donald Sutherland most days of the week.
Right.
And I think he has good chemistry. I think he plays off with Charlize, despite the fact they were just filming their scenes separately. But I actually buy that phone conversation, actually buy that bit between them at the start of the movie. But that would have been nice to be Michael Caine, just to pay homage to it.
I agree. That's just too bad, but it's fine. I mean, right. And I think, but that's a testament to Donald Sutherland and Charlize Theron's acting ability to just do a one-sided conversation and you believe it.
True, absolutely true.
Yeah.
I was just desperately scrolling as we were talking. It wasn't Charade, you were quite right. It was called Sleuth.
Sleuth. Okay. All right. I've not seen that. Charade is the Cary Grant, Audrey
Yeah.
Hepburn one. That was remade with what Will Smith and Thandie Newton,
Oh, okay.
right?
I don't know. I've not seen that.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's a thing for the other show, the
Yeah.
Make and Remake show.
Yeah.
Sorry, I no offense to Will Smith and Thandie Newton, but it was Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn.
Sure.
Stop.
I mean, yeah.
Stop. What are we doing? Not everything. And so hearing what you're saying, like, because this is an homage more than a remake, we're just calling it the Italian Job. We're going to have the minis in it. We're going to do, as opposed to like a straight remake, like the remake of Sabrina with, again, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Why did we do that? I mean, I know Harrison Ford's a slightly better actor than Humphrey Bogart, but it's like, I mean, and Kinnear was fine, and Julia, your cast was fine, but it's like, look, you got Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart. If you want people to watch Sabrina, just re-release it.
Sure.
And people would go see it as opposed to remaking it. And then you're like, especially because that was such a straight remake.
Yeah.
Whereas
What are you
this
bringing
one,
to it? Yeah.
right. Whereas this one, you're saying not.
I think they themselves are calling it like a remix. I think that's what the people like in production were saying. Like, we'll do the opening scene actually here in Venice. I think it's Turin in the original movie. And then obviously, it moves back to America, doesn't it? And then I just like that little moment later on where Mark Wahlberg's character, he plays Charlie Croker, which is the name of Michael Caine's character. They keep the name when he says, we'll do it like we did in the Italian Job. It's quite a nice little, it's a nice little moment in the movie, but also reminds you, oh yeah, I am watching that film and then it clues you in that the minis are coming. And when we get there, it's easily the best part of this movie, as it was easily the best part of the original movie.
Now I'm gonna definitely have to go watch it. I deliberately didn't because I didn't want, I wanted to focus on this one, but obviously we've spent all the time, so I should have. Sorry, bad.
No, not at all.
Bad guesting. It's not like I wouldn't have wanted to watch a fucking Michael Caine movie. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And
it comes in quite short as well. But this one's quite short, isn't it? This is only about an hour 40. I think the original was about the same. So in my head again, I thought the original was much longer. I thought I was going to be sitting down to invest like my whole evening to it, which at the moment seems to be watching every episode of Stranger Things is like between an hour and a half. I've just got the last episode to go now. It's 2 hours 20 minutes. It's bloody ridiculous.
It's a full. I've not seen any Stranger Things. So
that's like the length of a movie people complain about seeing at the cinema, but yet they're allowed to sit and. So did you see? Let's go off a tangent. James Cameron the other day talking about Avatar.
No.
I really like James Cameron. I think he's great. So he basically said, I'm not going to hear about people complaining. It's going to be long. People are willing to sit and have like marathons at home watching on TV, and they're not willing to come and watch a long movie. It's like, we need to get past this idea. You can't just pop out and go to the toilet. It's fine, but my film is going to be long. Get over it. Which I think is true when you're, like I say, 9 episodes of Stranger Things. You're probably watching about 13 hours of.
That's crazy bananas to me. That's too long. Then that means it needed to be 13 episodes. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, quite. And don't get me wrong, it's really good. It's really good TV. But the length of each episode is a real investment, particularly when my normal watching time happens from sort of 10:30 at night onwards.
Yeah.
I could just about
God damn it,
fit in a 90-minute. Yeah, exactly. Or
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't know, Fringe. 45 minutes of Fringe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I'm watching that with them actually, so that's why. Actually, the viewing
making
time,
the rest of it later.
Making my personal viewing time much later. Yeah. How dare she watch along with us?
Oh, that's awesome though. I can't wait to talk to you about it next week. 1 week from today, we'll be talking about that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But that'll actually come out before this.
Weirdly, it will. Won't
Weirdly,
it?
yeah.
But fittingly for Fringe too.
Right, that's true. For sure.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the opening Italian job?
I loved it.
Okay.
Listen, I think give me a heist, right? Dane Cook does. I don't know if you know who Dane Cook is, the stand-up comic. Okay. He came and then they tried to make him a movie star and I was like, oh, he can't act. Why did we do that? And then it kind of hurt his stand-up comedy career because it's like, you're a bad actor. And it's like, yeah, but you were paying me millions of dollars. And I was in Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner, which is a fucking gem. I was not good. That's what he should say every day. He should wake up and be like, I was in Mr. Brooks. Did you see that?
Yeah, Kevin Costner's like a serial killer.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was amazing. Costner, he's so great. Anyway, he's maybe a candidate for this series one time, but that would be really long. He does a lot of TV now, which could save you. But anyway, so Dane Cook did this bit about how it's like all the things that guys say they want this, they want this. He's like, they want to be in a heist. Like that's his bit. I don't necessarily want to be in a heist. I don't want to kill anybody, but like I like a heist. I like a good heist movie. The reason Heat is good, everybody thinks Heat is good is because Pacino's big ass and all that. No. It's the heisty stuff. I like to watch the precision of it. And then what I like is on a rewatch, a good heist. You can know what's going to happen. So you can look to see if they're following their own rules because the rules matter. The reason Back to the Future, again, they don't care about the rules. Like we're not flux capacitor, move along. And that's why it works because they don't get bogged down. But a heist, you have to get bogged down, especially if you're going to have an architect like they do. And the reason that, Christopher Nolan obviously loves Michael Caine is because he likes a heist movie too.
Yeah.
And, so I like the beginning. I think it's fun. I think it stands up really well. I think the timing, rat-a-tat, everybody's doing a good job. I don't know how long they hung out together, but it seems like these are dudes who hung out together. Like I believed all of it. I believe they knew each other. I believe Ed Norton's a dick.
Yeah, he sells that really well in this movie, doesn't he?
Boy, he's really pushing it. Even at the beginning, though, even before the turn. Yeah. So no, I really liked it. You seem surprised. You didn't like the beginning?
I do. I think the design of the heist is really clever. And like you said, I like the interconnecting parts and you get to know all the characters really quickly and their roles. And I think this is actually probably the best bit for Mark Wahlberg acting-wise between him and Donald Sutherland. I buy the kind of father surrogate son between them at the opening too. I just think boats are inherently unexciting.
Mm.
You compare it to the car scenes later on, like chases with cars feel fast, especially if they're filmed well. Chases in boats feel slow. It just lacks kineticism, I think.
That's fair. I think that's, I mean, and I think, because of where they're filming it too, you're stuck. You can only, even as fast as Handsome Rob is going, you can only go so fast. So, because realistically, like with a car, you turn the corner and you said if it's shot well, you don't think like, oh, you would have careened into that building. But in this, if you don't turn it right, you will literally hit the building. There's no way to fake it in a boat race. So you do have to kind of film it slower, where with a car, you can strap a car to the back of another car and then film it that way. So the car is actually moving. With the boat, you can't. Right. I see what you're saying.
And I think it has verisimilitude. It feels tangible. It feels real, as all this film does, because so much of it is filmed on location. There's only a couple of scenes really that are filmed in the studio. And I think that is a real positive about this movie, is that so much of it feels grounded and real. I think that was the name of the movie. So this start does as well. But again, maybe that's a problem, because boat go slow.
Seth Green said something.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't ruin the film at all. I think it's just, and I understand it. It's a nice contrast to the end, and it's something different. We all knew we were going to get cars in this movie. To start with boats makes it a bit more interesting. But and maybe it's a personal thing. Just boats don't really.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. And it's kind of like when you go back to Last Crusade, the boat scene in Last Crusade goes on and on and on, and you're like, all of the things that you forgive the Indiana Jones movies about, how the wall in the first one, and then it resets, and that's part of the kitsch by the third one. Like you get that's the joke, but that boat scene does take a while, and you're like, okay, you are definitely not going to make it.
That's a great shout. I totally. That's a great comparison. Just,
you're like, okay, that's the same city, right?
Yeah, Venice. Yeah.
So maybe that's it. That was just built in. You're like, that boat scene doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you need to do something really radical, like Face Off, when we have the Nick Cage, Nick Cage, Sean Archer character, get it right, at this point in the movie, being dragged, like barefooted, like that is kinetic, that's exciting, that's like really different and fresh. But yeah, one boat with another boat chasing it, or even two boats chasing it as we get in this, just, I don't know.
That's fair.
But what that does, it gives you room to improve, which is not always a bad thing.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not as samey, and that's important too, because you're like, well, we're doing this, and then in the own movie we get a chance to see something different. We get to make a switch to whatever. I mean, in a Bond movie, it's always like, get him on a motorcycle. Yeah. Like that's the way to make the change. Get somebody on a motorcycle and it feels different. Get somebody in a plane. Get somebody whatever. So that's the trick there. But here, right? So you're. And it does, you're right, it does ramp it up to 11, because that final mini chase at the end, there's a helicopter, I think that's fair. Yeah.
But what it does do, we've said it a couple of times, is it lets us know the characters, isn't it? Like,
oh my God,
Jason Statham's the wheelman.
So good. Yeah. It shorthand. There's no, like that, the first Air Suicide Squad, where we had to stop and do like the
here's what I do and here's my skill set.
Yeah. We didn't need to do that. There's just like, here they are.
Yeah. Seth Green's got a computer and he talks a lot. Most Def blows things up. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Charlie plans the things.
Right. Steve has a mustache.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that means he's going to be evil.
I actually, listen, I got to say, and I don't want to jump too far away, but I kind of, say what you want about Ed Norton. This is one of his finer act. I think he's a good actor.
Oh yeah,
I think he's excellent in this film.
Do you?
I do, because I think the way that with this script, the way that they write Steve, they give him a layer. He's tragic. When you get to the end and you find out what he did with all of his money, and I don't know, we don't. I think that's.
We don't have to do it in order. It's fine.
The fact that at the beginning they're like, I'm going to get this and I'm going to get this, and then he just
gets pull off the Italian job, don't they? And they get away with the gold. Yeah.
And so when they're sitting around having their drink and their stogies and whatever, and they're like, I'm going to get this, and Ed's just like, Steve, he's just like, I'll get one of whatever you guys get, and then he does that because he's sad. He wants John to love him. He wants to be Charlie's brother, but he's not. He's less than Charlie. Stella doesn't love him. John doesn't love him. He's not handsome Rob. He's not smart like Lyle. He's literally just like why he's in this crew. If this were Star Trek, he would be in a red shirt.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right. And so I think that adds a layer of tragedy to his character, because you realize at the end he really truly is a red shirt. He really is. Like when you think back, like why did you need him in this crew? They pull it off. I mean, he's not the safecracker.
No.
What does he do besides have a mustache?
Yeah, that is all he does.
He's a painter. I mean, so anybody can do that. Most Stath could, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think it's an excellent job, because the script writes him to be a sad, tragic character. And Ed Norton plays like it explains his bitterness. He doesn't come across as cocky ever.
No.
He always comes across as unsure of himself. And he feels, where everybody else, like obviously the star of the show, Stath, Handsome Rob. He's called fucking Handsome Rob. And there's even a line, because he is Handsome Rob. That's the line in the movie. And he is Steve. He doesn't even have a last name.
It's true. He is just,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I just think Ed Norton really owns it, because there's a way to have played the character as just Steve. No offense to our Steves in our lives, but you know what I mean?
I do.
He doesn't. I'm really impressed. Like there's another character here. I'm just looking at these. Thug, garbage man, Italian guard, Steve, right? He doesn't play it as that, where the character is that though. He's just a pointless character. So I just think, you disagree though. I can hear you're
no,
like,
I think it's fascinating. It's a great reading of it, because I think it's tragic as well, but in a different meaning of the word. He's just, to me, he's just completely disinterested all the way through. And we know he was contractually obliged, that he was basically told, you have to do this.
Is that right? Because what did he owe the company?
When he did, it's all the way back to Primal Fear. So when he did Primal Fear, I think he signed a 3-picture deal, and he was like hot shit by this point already. I mean, he was hot shit after Primal Fear. To be fair, he was amazing in that.
And then American History X.
Yeah, exactly. And we know he was a dick on that as well.
Yeah, we know he's a dick.
Yeah, absolutely. But we also know he's massively talented, and that's why, to me. But maybe I'll watch it again. I'll do it with your reading of it. To me, he doesn't stand out here. Maybe you're right. He's doing that purposefully. He just
that's how I read
like
it.
I'm here because I have to be, and maybe that's because I'm watching it with that knowledge. Maybe if I didn't have that knowledge,
I didn't know that. I didn't know. I came at it as the character's disinterested in his own life. Like he's a thief for the sake of being a thief. He's this found family thing. And again, going back to how the Fast movies are just ripping this movie off. This is the family. These are the people. They and so he realizes pretty easily he's not one of them. And so that's why he becomes the heel. That's why he becomes the Chris Phelps of the film, right? He does his heel turn, and it's because he's sad. I think he plays it really well. But now knowing that he personally was disinterested, it makes me wonder. But I feel that way about Steve. Like he's just disconnected from his life. He is unhappy. He doesn't even spend all the gold.
No.
I mean, so I just think he's a tragic character, and I think you couldn't have flipped it. Like
it'd be another big personality amongst big personalities, and he needed to be. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I've never ever watched it or like thought of it in that way. And like I said, I think because I've always come with the biasness of knowing that he was contractually obliged, and according to rumors, didn't really want to do the movie. But he is really, really talented. Like probably one of the finest actors of his generation. Like, up there, isn't he? Like top 5, if not higher, top 3. I mean, he's like right up there in terms of ability. So maybe we're underselling it. Maybe we're being unfair on him.
Well, and it's true because, I mean, who's the bigger star? Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. But who's the better actor?
Oh, well, Mark Wahlberg. No, sorry. That was it.
Yeah. No, I like Mark Wahlberg. Fine.
Me too. Not necessarily here, but I do like him fine.
Right, exactly. Here he's still in that I'm playing Marky Mark, and I'm sure that's what Ed Norton is like. Motherfucker, did you just see American History X? I just did that. Do you know what I mean? Like I owned Richard Gere in Primal Fear. I made American History X. Was he in the People versus Larry Flint too? I didn't see that, but why do I think he was in that?
Yeah,
too?
I think you're right. He was. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So here, and I know that was not a starring role, but it was like he's just come out of nowhere. And I always feel like I've been told this, or not told this, I've heard this, that he is playing himself in Birdman. Like,
right. That he's specifically there and cast to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That is, they're like, we want Ed Norton to play this. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just think that's fascinating. I didn't know that, but I do think, well, we'll both rewatch it with that knowledge and see what we think. We'll reconvene. But I think, that's my read on it. And again, I think Mark Wahlberg is still at the place like Contraband. Again, it's like the cousin of this film, but he's definitely gotten, because he's still playing the same kind of guy. Did you ever see Contraband? Him and
no.
Kate Beckinsale? It's when he got into like, I'm the producer of my own films and I want to, wear a turtleneck sometimes and maybe keep my shirt on. Like what's the one he did? The Gambler. He wasn't ready to do that here.
No.
But he wanted to just play Marky Mark, but go by Mark Wahlberg. And I'm sure, again, that would piss Ed off. He's like, dude, why are you the star of this? Why do you get to smooch Charlize and I don't?
Well, there's a couple of things we need to talk about here. In terms of like, should there be any smooching at all? No. Good. And also, should he be the star? I don't know if he should. I think he's fine, to coin a phrase from the film.
Yeah.
But I don't think he brings anything to it. And whereas I'll take your argument for Ed Norton and Steve. I don't think there's much argument to be made for Charlie. He should be the charismatic center this movie revolves around, and he's completely outshone by everybody supporting him. And we know the straight man is hard to play. It's not true of Michael Caine in Italian Job, though. So we can't possibly compare Michael Caine and Mark Wahlberg anyway.
Well, it's not.
But he's playing that same straight role in Italian Job, and he is the charismatic center that movie revolves around. Whereas here, Mark Wahlberg just isn't that guy.
No.
Who should have been that guy?
The Stath.
Well, I mean, it could have been, couldn't it?
Yeah. 100%.
He could have pulled that role off, I think. I think he was probably ready by this point, having just done The Transporter.
Yeah.
I think he could have pulled off Charlie, and then we would have had the Brit in the central role, which would have been another nice nod to.
And he talks like him.
Yeah, despite the fact of being nowhere near where Michael Caine. Yeah. As we've covered several times in this podcast already.
Whatever his accent is, it is that, No, I agree. I think Stath should have been. I think, and again, I think Mark Wahlberg he wants to be the guy he wants to be this guy. He just, so to me, making this, doing a sequel, I think it would be I think he's come a long way as an actor. He had his break. I don't know if you ever saw Renaissance Man with Gregory Hines and Danny DeVito. It was a Penny Marshall film. That was kind of his first role, really, where he's going to not be Marky Mark, even though he did the song on the outro, on the soundtrack as Marky Mark. But he's really good. I mean, he's on screen with Danny DeVito and Gregory Hines. He's holding his own in that. And that's a really good movie, actually. I really, really loved it. It's about Shakespeare and I loved it. Anyway, but that was the first time you're like, oh, this kid can act. I didn't realize. And again, like going with Most Death, like, well, when you're a rapper and you're being a character, Marky Mark is a character that you're playing, your whole life is an act, right? So maybe it's easy. But again, he's still a one-note actor for a while. And in this movie, he's still the guy who you're watching Renaissance Man. You're like, oh, I had no idea. And now here it is, however many years later, you're like, it's just because you're handsome. That you're the star.
That is true. And he brings money to the project, I imagine. And he brings the audience with him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But you're right. When he turns up and he tries, I mean, look at him in The Departed. He is unbelievably good in that film. And look at who he stacked up against in that movie. Yeah,
that's a murderer's row, man.
I'd probably argue he's the best thing in that. And that's we're up against Damon, DiCaprio.
See, I had to rewatch it. I just thought we thought Damon stole the movie, like unexpectedly stole that movie. But he's great in it though. And I think maybe too, because expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
You come in thinking like Mark Wahlberg's in the movie with these guys. And you're like, damn. But he probably learned a lot while he was on set. Yeah. Because he and Damon, they were the interchangeable ones in that
No,
film
that's
anyway.
that's
Yeah.
DiCaprio and Damon, the interchangeable.
Oh, it
one.
is You're right. Okay.
He plays Sergeant Dignam. He plays the really
That's
foul-mouthed, really un-PC, and he's amazing.
It's been a while. I'll have to go back and watch it. But yeah, no, that he's come a long way.
That's who I turn into if anybody does anything towards my two boys. Sergeant Dignam comes out.
Nice.
The language
they will
goes
hear all
very
about it.
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Teaching
absolutely.
the boys some new words.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes there's a couple of key moments in my mind
Yeah.
where that is, cars have got a little bit too close to my eldest on his bike, and the language has come out as such.
As it should.
My Dignam spirit animal.
Nice. I love that. I'll have to go watch The Departed.
Yeah.
You always give me a list of things I need to watch, so that's good.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got Renaissance Man to add to my list tonight.
It's very good. It was, it's one of those like little. I think I saw it in the theater when I was working at the movie theater, so it's just one of those ones. So it must have been like early '90s. He was still Marky Mark then. He was still doing rap music, as it were. Remember, Marky Mark chose to not be in the New Kids on the Block because he said he wanted to be taken seriously as an artist.
Wow.
So then he put out Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah, and then he started in The Happening, but that's a different podcast for another show.
Okay, yes. This is not the Marky Mark cast. This is the Stath cast. No, I agree. I actually would love to have seen the Stath because I think Stath, I would believed him more as Charlie because he would just have brought the swagger to it a little bit that Marky Mark brings the arms. He's like, look at me in my tight fitted shirt, which is that's what he always is.
Yeah,
so.
And it is an honor for the Stath to be in. This is like the sole Brit amongst this kind of American starry cast. I think that elevation to the main character really would have been, but he does pull off Handsome Rob.
He's excellent.
I think it's really interesting because like you and I both like, yes, he is handsome. Watching it with Em, she wanted to watch this with me. She likes it too. She is not attracted to the Stath at all. Like,
sure.
I can't say it word for word. I'm going to paraphrase, but it's pretty close. And it was along the lines of like, I'd rather be with Donald Sutherland. So that's how little she finds Jason Statham attractive, which is obviously fine. We're all entitled to our own opinion. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder and all that cheese.
Yeah.
But I think he isn't traditionally handsome. Like when you hear the name Handsome Rob, you think what? Rob Lowe, you think Brad Pitt, you think those kind of people, don't you?
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I watched a couple of behind the scenes things where the director F. Gary Gray had Mark Wahlberg in mind. He literally went to him and said, I want you for this, read the script. And he had Charlize Theron in mind. And I think Wahlberg also wanted her because they acted together in The Yards. But it was a casting director that went to F. Gary Gray and said, Jason Statham is the guy you want for this role. And then when he saw him and what he could do, he cast him immediately because he's not traditionally a handsome leading man. But as you said, he has the swagger, he has the charisma. And that is what Handsome Rob is about.
Right. And it's right because it's not about the reason that I think that another guy who is handsome, but like not Rob Lowe handsome is Bradley Cooper. And the reason that Bradley Cooper works as face in the A-Team remake is because he's got everything he needs to be the face man.
Sure.
Right. Like what Dirk Benedict got in that original A-Team, like he wasn't the original face, right? The guy from the original pilot, they're like, no. He was
I haven't seen
like,
that, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, he's like had a big black pompadour and everything, and it was like, you are too handsome. Like the point of face is you're like, oh, he's charming your pants off, as opposed to you're just like looking at him and you losing yourself in those, blue eyes, whatever. So I think Cooper's the same way. Where Bradley Cooper's, it's like you're looking at him. Is Bradley Cooper really the handsome devil that you think he is, or is it just that he's really talented and he's bringing charisma to it? And that's what Stath does as Handsome Rob. He is so charismatic, and he is so he believes he's Handsome Rob, so you believe he's Handsome Rob. And I think that is attractive, as we talk about on Fringe. What makes Anna Torv so attractive in that is the skill that she brings as Olivia Dunham. It's not about Anna Torv being a beautiful woman. She's a fine look. If you just saw her standing there, you'd be like, yeah, she's not an ugly woman in any shape or form. But when she is Olivia Dunham, that's what makes her attractive. And so I think Statham is like, right. So the casting director, good on you to be like, we need a guy who can swag. I mean, Lee and I were just talking about this before we came in here because she didn't know about Stath's time as a diver and a dancer. That is balls. I mean, I'm assuming there are a lot of dongs being released in the pool, at the diving pool, right? Not intentionally, but they have to wear those tight Speedos and jump from 30 meters and hit the water really quickly. And so you have to have a lot of no fear, but also self-assurance to be a diver, to be an Olympic level diver like he was. So that translates directly into that, to his acting jobs. And so he brings it.
He does.
You know, he's fearless. The reason he works as the wheelman is because, again, if you're going to be a diver, you can't be afraid and be a diver. It just, his personality is perfect. Like, I don't know him at all, but I feel like the guy he is in Wrath of Man, which is awesome. This is who he is. I feel like if you sat down with Jason Statham, he is Handsome Rob. So he wasn't acting.
And he'd be charming and funny, and he'd tell you stories. And
that's how I feel.
No, I agree. And actually, when you see him in kind of behind the scenes stuff and interviews, it's a little bit. Sometimes it's like when you hear somebody talk in their like natural voice that you haven't heard talk before, and it really surprises you to hear what they sound like. I think he's a bit like that when you see him in interviews. It's like, okay, he's like kind of goofy and kind of silly and kind of. It's not what you think because he's hard man Stath, but actually in real life, I think Dan called him he reckons he's just like a big teddy bear. Sure. Actually in real life, and when he'd be really cuddly and happy and joyful. I think that's probably quite an accurate.
Yeah, because he's not method, and I think there's and I think I'm not shitting on method actors, but I also feel like there's something about being able to go action and being in the character. And so to go from like the stuff where he's played some pretty hard-boiled stuff, like in the Crank movies, that's just absurd. That's like a comic book. So of course you're just as serious as Crank is, it's just the stupidest thing ever. I mean, and then the sequel, when that sequel happened, you're like,
pure joy.
It's insane. I love that movie so much. So stupid. So I get that, but like in Wrath of Man, so to be able to go and play like this guy, and even in the Meg, he's pretty badass in Meg. And so to know that offset, as soon as they're not rolling, he's just goofing around and whatever. I think that's really impressive as an actor to be able to act as opposed to be like, I understand Daniel Day-Lewis is Daniel Day-Lewis, but you shouldn't have to go live in the woods for a month before you play a guy who lived in the woods. You should be able to show up and be like, yeah, I had to change my diet so I don't look like I've been eating Doritos, but I don't have to have actually lived in the woods for a month. I think that's weird.
Yeah, me too. He's just happy. I think he's really happy and he just loves his life. And he's like, he was a guy who, as you said, he was a diver, he was a dancer, he was selling like knockoff perfumes on the street. And then now 20 years later, he's in the biggest franchise in the world and still acting with his mates and acting for his mate Guy Ritchie, and he must just be really happy. He must have a great life. It's like you see Tom Cruise being interviewed. He's like, why wouldn't I be happy? My life is amazing. Well, yeah, good for you, mate. It probably really is amazing to be you. Yeah, I imagine Statham, to his own extent, feels the same.
Well, I'm sure probably even a little bit different because I think Statham could put a hat on and walk around.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm watching Wimbledon, and boy, could they get a closer, tight shot of Tom Cruise sitting in the crowd. I'm like, okay, we know it's him.
Yeah.
Pan out. We get it. He's there. Okay. Just calm down. And I'm sure that's what it's like for him every time he goes everywhere, where I do think you could put a hat on, like a ball cap on Stath, baseball hat.
Flat cap, I reckon.
Well, but then you'd know it was him.
Oh, okay. Sure. All right. Because we'd expect him to wear a flat cap.
100%. Yeah. That's what I expect him to.
A beret. Well, no, because he wears does he wear a beret in the Expendables? Maybe we could do that.
Right? He does. Yeah. So, I know. I think he's great in this. I think all in all, casting director did a pretty good job. I think Seth Green is just Seth Green. Like, I don't feel and I've seen him act too. He did a movie last year that he wrote and directed. He and his buddy, Breckenmeyer, just hanging out. I don't know if you saw it. I can't think of what it's called. And Brenda Song and Macaulay Culkin are in it too. It's really, really good. Seth Green can't act. But people want him to be Robot Chicken, Scotty Evil, Seth Green. So he just gives them that here. He just cranks that shit up to 11. And he's great because he's not trying to do anything different. So I think overall, and as we already talked about how great Mos Def is in this, I think the main cast is really, really good. I'm impressed by it every time I see it because, is your brain saying, oh, that was really good. Right. The star of the movie is the weakest link. And he and Charlize, I don't think have any chemistry.
Zero. And I mean, how anybody can have zero chemistry with Charlize Theron, I'm not sure. And I don't just mean that in terms of like she, when we talk about, she is a beautiful woman. You would notice her at any part of the street, but also she is massively talented. And I think this is around the start of her kicking on as an actress. We know she was a model first and then played roles which played upon her looks to begin with. But I think here she's really starting to become the actress which we know her to be.
Yeah. There's the thing that I knew her from was That Thing You Do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She plays
maybe
Tina.
her first ever role.
It was.
I think.
Yeah. And so for years I couldn't remember her name because Charlize, it's said that's how it is.
I don't think I think it's her surname, isn't it? I've come to learn that her surname is Thron, isn't it? You're not supposed to say it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that because South African.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thron, yeah.
Yeah. So it's more Dutch. That would make sense. But she was Tina in That Thing You Do. And so for years I was like, oh, look, there's Tina. And I think even in That Thing You Do, in the small role she's in, she's really commands this. She's acting in that film. Everybody's acting their ass off in the movie. I love That Thing You Do. I think it's great. I think everybody's great in it. And she, in just a small role, you get why people were like, oh, put her in something. And the thing is, did you see Young Adult?
I did, yeah.
Oh, that and Tully, those two made by the same director. The performances that she puts in, and I know she won the award for Monster, but those were both award-winning performances in my hands down. And because in both movies you talked about chemistry with Patton Oswalt and her crackle in Young Adult, and then Mackenzie Davis in Tully, same. They're just like snappy, and there's not necessarily romantic tension there, a little bit, but it's like just the way that everybody on screen with her interacts with her. And so for her and Mark Wahlberg to be like, are you guys even in the same room? Sometimes it's so weird.
There's a couple of times where he like embraces her and you almost feel like she's kind of like, oh, do I have to? I'm sure that's not it. And that's really unfair to say. I'm sure they got on fine. But yeah, I think
they'd already done other things together.
They had. But I do, it's easy to say, isn't it? But if I was a director and I'm on this set and we've got this, and it's very minimal, the romantic subplot. It's not really there. It's just kind of hinted at. And it could have easily gone and wouldn't have affected this film at all.
I actually think it would make it better.
Well, actually, I agree with that too. Yeah,
because I think it's unnecessary for this plot, for what this is. This is a revenge movie. Like we don't need that. This isn't that. It's like in Edge of Tomorrow, they don't do that deliberately, right? We're like, we're not going to do that. It's not that movie. It's irrelevant. Him being a man is irrelevant. Her being a woman is irrelevant. These are just two people in a situation. We're not going to pretend there's no romantic, and that's good. I think it could have been cut because they are more siblings. They have the chemistry there of that. And they've obviously grown up together. Not to say that can't happen. And, like Babs and Dick, they love each other and they grew up together. I'm not pretending that, but that can't happen because it can. I'm just saying in this movie, it doesn't work at all. No. And let's just get rid of that because she does just become one of the gang.
She does. And I'd much rather, like, that progression works. I'd much rather seen the film she did about her forgiveness of Charlie for his role in her dad dying. That would have worked much better.
That's the movie.
And actually, I would have rather have seen Handsome Rob trying to flirt with her and getting knocked back. I'd been like, no, I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
I'm here for, like,
because he would have totally done it. He would have tried. Yeah, that would have been better. You should have written the script.
Another little polish on the script. That would have been a little bit better, wouldn't it? Yeah, Charlize, I'm thinking, she might be a good shout for my first female, because what I like about the Stath is this journey. We talk about this journey from being not really an actor to finding who he is. She's obviously coming from a different world as a model and becoming a really respected, but also she plays in all these different fields as well. She's in Mad Max and she's in Atomic Blonde and she's in Monster and
Blonde. Boy, that movie was amazing. I feel like she was really doing vodka shots in that. It was water, but I'm like, she's hitting those. She's that good of an actor. If that's not really vodka, the way she's drinking those shots in that movie, I was like, if that's not really vodka, she deserves an award for that. It looks like she's drinking vodka to me.
I've got 18 months to decide who it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be a while, but she's on the list for sure.
That's a good shout. She is because yeah, she's done a little bit of everything, and she's done comedy, and she's got that monkey movie. Didn't she do one with an ape, Mighty Joe Young?
I was sharing that as well. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So I mean, she's like, I don't care. I just want to be in stuff. I want to act. I mean, how do you get better? By making movies, right? So yeah. I mean, obviously, you could never do Nicolas Cage on here because there's not enough time there's not enough time.
I mean, I would love to do Nicolas Cage, but I'd have to watch 3 films a week and record 3 podcasts, and it would still take me 5 years.
That's just the stuff from the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So to finish off our thoughts on Charlize, I've got a question for you.
For sure.
How many career criminals does it take to pin a badge on a lady's shirt?
Oh my God, all of them. That's
all
so
of
funny.
Them. We all need to go at doing that, don't we?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But again, she brushes them back, though.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the part of the film that I think is the most like.
Yeah, I mean, I've made a joke out of that one scene, but it's
you're right.
It is the problematic part of the movie now.
It is. Well, that is it. Is though that I think Stella's character, when she goes in, and it's not like, we can't send you in because it's going to be dangerous. She's like, he doesn't know what I look like. You got to send me in. You know what I mean? And it was never like, there's never a lot of peacocking over her and like, you can't do it. It's like, we need 3 cars. We're not going to get a 3rd driver. It's going to be Handsome Rob. It's going to be you. It's going to be me. That's it. We're not, it was never. So I appreciated those parts. So that's a tale of 2 movies, because Stella's character and what Charlize brings to the character is the strong kind of feministy icon, badass, awesome. And then the stuff with Handsome Rob and like everybody, like the way that they get the cable van, and like that's the joke. And then the very end scene where the cop, he's going to bang the cop at the end and the outro, and Lyle's thing where I'm going to blow the women's clothes off. And it's like, okay, this film is both 1980s bad frat boy movie and then also this 2003 remake where we've got an excellent actor playing a badass and holding her own with the boys, as it were. And so it's weird. There's these 2 things, and F. Gary Gray did Set It Off, right? So I mean, he's made, which I fucking love that movie. My God, was that his first movie?
I think so. Yeah.
You guys haven't seen Set It Off, everybody. You should go see. So talk about a caper. Great acting. That was Latifah, right? He took another musician and was like, oh, I'm going to make you a star. And he did. I mean, she was already a star, right? But now she's what she is. She was great in that movie. Jada Pinkett Smith was great in there. So he's made that film, so it's like so weird. That part of it I don't get. And I wonder if that was studio, if that was him, if that was, I mean, I know he didn't write the screenplay, these Powers, Donna and Wayne Powers. I don't know who they are. I don't know. That to me is the problematic part of the film. Is
it does sit in this weird place. I like what you said, like in between being kind of retro and being modern. I don't know how much of it, because Purvis and Wade did a script of the remake, and they did a lot of James Bond stuff. Oh, okay. Particularly the Pierce Brosnan era. So whether that's a holdover, maybe from their script, then the Powers were then brought in to redo it because the studio didn't like their entire vision. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with Handsome Rob. I mean, it's one thing for him to like use his wiles to get the woman and whatever, and that's fine. But it's like everybody's just dropping their pants for him, and I think that's why it would have worked better for Stella to be like, not interested.
I think it kind of works with I like the cable. Yeah. I don't know what you call them. The cable operator.
Choose the cable.
The female cable repair technician.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I don't want to say repairman. That didn't feel right. And neither did I want to say repair woman. That didn't feel right either. Yeah. Technician. I like it. Yeah. I think that works. And because you get that like almost kind of ironic Seth Green commentary over the top.
That was funny. Yeah. Because then you're not sure if that's really how it happened.
Sure.
Because it's through Lyle's. We have no idea. He could have just taken her out on a date and stolen her key card. We have no idea. Yeah. But because you don't know if that's real. Like a lot of the stuff too that Handsome Rob does, you do wonder, is that how Lyle wishes it would go? Absolutely. Or is that really how it went? So it plays with that. But Lyle is also this horny incel type guy.
Yeah. And it's the return to it that becomes, as you said, then it becomes problematic. You return to it in the credits. And the Lyle stuff in the credits is awful. And that actress is Kelly Brook. She was an actress and a TV presenter. She was Jason Statham's partner at the time.
Oh, wow.
That's how she got that role there. Yeah. So Thanks, Bo, for getting me that.
Wow. To be literally objectified in every way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, anyway, so that was it. That's the only issue I really have.
No, I agree with you.
Is that
Yeah.
I really do think it's a lot of fun.
Well, other than that, yeah, it's really fast paced. It's really breezy. There's a little lull in the middle, isn't there, when they're figuring out how they're going to get to Steve, and then their initial plan to break into his mansion and get the gold fails because there's a party going on. It's fine, but really we just want to get to the end, and we want to get to the final third because we know the minis are coming.
We needed it was overly complicated by having the Russians and then the Hawaiian.
Skinny Pete.
Yeah. It's like, well, do we need both of those guys? And I guess, I mean, the script is written in a way that it seems like we need them both, but I don't know. It just was make it overly complex, make it a little more heisty, to try something different. So I'm not going to fault it for that, but I do think you're right. We had to spend too much time getting to know those characters, which is better than Deus Ex Machina. Oh, I know Skinny Pete. You're like, wait, because he did say his name earlier.
He did, yeah, he referenced
so
him,
it was set up, but I get it. I get that you're like, we want to.
Yeah, because he finds out from Skinny Pete that
the
gold is being sold in this area. Absolutely, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just because we know where the film's going to go. I just kind of want to get there.
Right.
It's really all it is. It's all fine, fine again, but it's not what we want to see from this movie. We want to get to, because when we get there, and it's one of those, it's not quite a Deus Ex Machina, is it? It's not quite that much of a level. Like, it's not like, it is that thing where like the heist has gone wrong and we've been planning this for weeks. And what we'll do is we'll throw together an even more complicated heist in 2 hours.
Right.
It is that, but again, that is kind of classic to the genre too, I suppose. But the final heist with the 3 minis versus the 3 armored trucks and a helicopter is brilliant. It's really strong.
It really is. It's amazing. And, watching Minnie zip around is always fun. And that's what Lee likes about it. It's that she likes fast cars. Her dad was a race car driver. Her brothers raced cars. She grew up watching race cars, and minis are fun.
Yeah.
Our car is a Volkswagen Beetle Turbo.
Nice.
He likes to go fast. Sometimes when you're driving out of our driveway from a dead stop, we live at, there's a one-way road. So you have to cross it. You got to haul ass because it's 3 lanes. And sometimes if the pavement is wet, Trey is the car's name, he lets you know.
Guess it gives you a nice little bit of a wheel spin. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he wants to go. Yeah. So she's always had zippy cars, and so that mini scene is spectacular. You could just watch that. You just be like, I'm sure there's a YouTube highlight of the mini scene.
I'm sure it's like, I've said it before. When I used to grow up, I used to watch the Karate Kid tournament. I used to come home. I mean, I love the whole of Karate Kid. Of course I do. I'm a 42-year-old man. Of course I love Karate Kid. But I used to come home.
Yeah.
That is a rule, definitely.
Yeah.
Middle-aged white guy, you like Karate Kid.
That's true.
But I used to come home and like for a period, like every day, start from the tournament and just watch that through to the end. Joe Esposito Bean, you're the best.
Because you wanted to kiss Elizabeth Shue.
I did, and I wanted to be held aloft like Daniel. And for the school bully to tell me that I was all right.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
You could absolutely just do that with this scene, because I think
100%. Yeah.
It managed to retain that. And it is just having minis. As simple as just having minis, but it managed to retain that kind of. It's iconic in its own way, because it's so inventive in what it does in terms of the cars that they're on Hollywood Boulevard and they're driving over the stars. Is quite a nice little touch, quite cheeky, and then going down into the tunnels and going down the steps and having to beat the subway train, if that's the right word, I'm not sure. So all of that is really inventive. And this is the first 5 minutes of it. Yeah.
Oh, it is the stunt choreography on it is pretty amazing. And I don't know how much of it was actually done and how much of it was Matchbox cars, because that's the beautiful thing about. Was it all practical? Because that's the beautiful thing about minis, is they look like Matchbox cars. So you're just like, whoo.
Yeah, everything was practical, and the only thing that was a set was the big like warehouse, the big underground tunnel where they blow the armored car through.
Yeah.
Like they did in the Italian Job, to get the gold, because there wasn't anywhere big enough to do that. So they had to build that in like an aircraft hangar or something. But other than that, like that was a real subway tunnel they drove down.
Nice. That's awesome.
Because I watched a behind the scenes thing about these stunts, and they had to retrofit the minis. They had to get you have like what they call hero cars, which is the ones which are for the shots, and then you have like 200 other stunt cars which you just bash to shit.
Right.
And generally they've like strip out lots of the engine parts to make them lighter and all that kind of bit like they do in the movie, right?
Yeah.
They retrofit them for what they need it for. But they weren't allowed to film in the subway with petrol cars because of the fumes.
Oh, of course.
So they invented for this film the first ever electric Mini.
Nice.
Which is a really cool, like,
that is
nice
amazing.
So I'm sure electric cars existed, even though
they did. Yeah.
But there'd never been an electric Mini before, so they managed to fit that machinery into a Mini for the film, which is cool.
That's awesome. That is cool. And an electric Mini could go far because they are light. They are light and zippy. Yeah. That's so cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I didn't realize it was all practical. It's really good. So stunt drivers, they earn their money, man.
Absolutely. And Charlize was the best, I read.
Really?
They went to stunt driving school and she outstripped all the boys by a long way.
That's amazing.
Which helps to answer something which does bother me and has always bothered me about this film. That Stace Handsome Rob is the wheelman, but yet he's always third and last in the driving. It pisses me off. He should be at the front. He's the wheelman, right?
Right.
He
Yeah,
should
you
be the
follow
guy.
him.
But I know Charlie's the lead character, so he needs to be at the front. And then you get Charlize Stella next. Maybe that's because she was a good driver. I don't know. But it's always annoyed me that he seems to be slightly behind them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I never thought about that. But that is valid. That's a valid argument.
When he's literally, that's his skill set. That's what he's there
He
for.
is there to be, right. He's not there to be Handsome Rob. He's there to be the driver.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He could get any car and he could drive any car.
Yeah, but I believe also what I didn't know this until obviously researching for us to talk. There's a bit that's been cut out of the movie where when they're escaping from the tunnels and they come through the water and they land in
where the scene from Grease is.
Yeah, they're like the thing in Terminator 2. I don't know what you call those things.
I'll think of it.
But it's that scene.
Yeah.
He's being shot at by a motorbike rider in the back. He gets shot in the original concept, but I think Handsome Rob gets shot, which maybe explains why later on in their scene he's a bit behind, but they chose to edit out of the movie for whatever reason.
But that just makes him more badass and tough that he drives while he's shot, right?
Quite. I don't know if it added an element they decided they didn't need or what, because he definitely isn't shot later on. So I'm going to assume they changed it during production. They just decided not to use that angle.
Yeah, because they're like, it's not we're already running over.
Yeah.
We spent too much time with the Russian guy. We got to
when you see him standing at the train at the end with all the other gang, he's not holding himself. He's not shot or anything. He's fine. So.
Right. Because he's so handsome, the bullet just pushed itself out.
Yeah. It just looked at him and went, nah, you're too big. Fly away.
Abs of steel, literally. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Reservoir, right? It's a reservoir. That's where they are.
Oh, there's definitely a name for this. I feel like I should know it because it's just because Terminator 2 is so famous, that scene with the bike and the truck. It's called like the LA.
But that's where they filmed the race in Greece too.
Yeah. I assume so. I assume that's the same place.
It's the same. Yeah. I mean, that's just, when I see it, it's funny that's what you think Terminator 2. Whenever I see that scene, I was like, oh, that's the end of Greece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the end of Greece. This is for a different
podcast.
Podcast, but have you ever heard the argument that Greece is all a hallucination and they die?
I haven't.
In the car, that he dies and that's why they fly away at the end. That he dies in he dies in the car.
Oh, thank you for that, downer.
Yeah, and so then the whole ending scene is his fantasy where
he's moving on to heaven.
The other argument is that she drowns at the beginning, the opening scene. Sandy dies. And the whole thing is her death, and that the whole thing is a fantasy of her life with what Johnny could be. So
thank you for tuning in to Tony Ruins Greece, everybody.
You're welcome. I don't know that I believe in either of those. I'm just saying they're both out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, what this movie doesn't need is a musical number, though. So it's okay.
No, to be fair, or like that horrible thing when sometimes they end with like a musical song over the credits. That'd have been awful. What's the highlight for you in the final scene? Do you think in the final chase?
Oh boy, I just like it when they beat the train. I mean, and they're gonna beat the train, but they're gonna, and maybe that's why Handsome Rob is last, because he's got to be so good. He's got less time to beat the train. No, I like that. I like to beat the train. There's something about that whole, it's like the scene in Stand By Me that I love. Just that whole, they're not really going to die in Stand By Me. They're going to beat the train, but there's just something about beating the train that I find super exhilarating, and especially knowing that they did it practically. And I know that train wasn't really going that fast, obviously. No, I just like that. Once they're in the tunnels, that's the best. I mean, the stuff up on top and the shell game with the 3 cars is cool. I don't care for the way that the helicopter scene is shot as much. It's a little too like found footagey. And I know, what are you going to do? If you're really shooting at a helicopter, that's what it's going to look like. So, but for me, I think the actual cinematography in the cars is really well done on that whole chase scene. Once they're in the tunnel, feels like you're in there with them. I've driven stick in my life. I've used to have cars that were sticks in movies, this and Baby Driver, and they shift way more often than they would.
Sure.
So that is annoying. Like,
it's like people type on computers in movies.
Yeah, right.
They're typing like a 8-digit password and they use like 200 presses to get it. Yeah,
right. Yeah. The closest, if you watch Mr. Robot, that's what typing looks like. That's what hacking looks like. You're tired, you're strung out, you're drinking Mountain Dew, and you need a nap, and you're probably on heroin to stay awake, and that's what typing looks like. Whereas like most of the time it's like, you're like, nope, that's those. Yeah. So anyway, that's my favorite part. What's yours?
Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned the helicopter, because I do think the practical helicopter scene of it going under the bridge is awesome. And again, to know that somebody's done that is skill and amazing. Brave, like to fly that helicopter under there. But I'm the same as you. Anything involving like a fast-speeding train and or a helicopter in a tight space, which is why the Mission Impossible movies are so good, because they often do both those things together, which the first one definitely does. Yeah.
Right. Helicopter on a train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's inventive, isn't it?
It is.
And we'll have a helicopter, and we'll have these 3 trucks, and we'll go in a tunnel, and then we'll go through the storm drains, and we'll drive along the LA storm drains, or the reservoir, or whatever the hell that name is. It's going to come to me when we finish. When we press stop, it's going to come to me.
You'll edit it back in. You're the editor. You'll just stick it back in. I love it. I just think a good car chase. A car chase can either be amazing or it can be terrible. And I know Bullet sets the standard, right? Nothing is ever Bullet. Nothing will ever be Bullet. But Bullet is also hard to watch too, because it's so loud and it's so long, but it's fucking amazing, right? And so, have you seen Bullet? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. So most people, even if you haven't seen Bullet, you know the scene that I'm talking about. But I think scenes in cars can be really drawn out. It can, and they were like, okay, we're gonna do a car scene. Let's make, and this does, the reason I wondered if it were done with Matchboxes, because this almost feels like they gave a bunch of 6-year-olds some Mini Coopers and some toys and like do whatever, and then they filmed that. That's how inventive it feels. It's totally fresh. This is 2003. There's been a million billion D car chases, and there's been a million billion D car chases since then. But this still manages to make you lean forward during the entire thing. It's shot well. The sound design is really great. Doesn't overwhelm you. So I can't get past how, like you said, the Fast and Furious movies, I'm obviously having not seen them, but from what you're saying, off their cap.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And
has Gary Gray done any of the Fast and Furious movies?
He has. I'm gonna come to that in a minute.
Okay.
Actually. That's where we're gonna kind of wrap up. We're gonna wrap up there before we go into our final scores. I was just going to compare it to the Italian job, the 69 one, really, and just say that as good as the 69 one is, and it is great, that seems to do things with the cars which are just for show. It doesn't feel like it's actually part of like the heist or the mission to get away, or whereas here everything feels like it's purposeful. I think that's the word I'm looking for. This feels like it's intentional, it's purposeful, and we need this to get away. And even the scene, which is totally superfluous, where Mark Wahlberg gets split up from the crew and the helicopter goes under the bridge. At least it's inventive and exciting and it's practical.
It's a way for him and Steve to have a standoff.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like he could have just gone with everyone else and we could have got to that point quicker, but at least as you said, it feels like a standoff, and again, it's quite inventive. Whereas the Italian job, the 69, is really clever and inventive, but it has moments where you feel like this is you just showing off what the cars can do, or you just putting it in there in order to get another shot.
It's a commercial for Mini Coopers.
Yeah, a little bit. There's just one bit that really stands out. They drive up like a temporary road, and they drive over like this top of a building, which looks a bit like, with the curve of it looks a bit like the Sydney Opera House. I'm not sure what it is. It's in Turin, obviously. I'm not sure outside Turin. And then the minis kind of hide on the other side from where the camera is, and the police car follows them up and stops and looks for them. And then they burst out and drive back down the same road they came down. So it looks cool and it's fun, but in terms of it being practical, it's not necessary. So it's like the Blues Brothers, right? The Blues Brothers is brilliant, and the car chases in that are ludicrous, but they're ludicrous knowing they're ludicrous.
Yeah, that was intentional. They did all that too. That was all real. Yeah.
So this feels like it's meant to be cool, but not playing on that kind of ludicrous stage.
Sure.
This bit job. So what I like about this is, just to get back to the original point, is the practicality of it as well as the invention is really strong. Yeah,
I love it. I think it's really good. I mean, I do. I just think it's hard to say I'm making a car chase movie that is new. It's a tough thing. That's why they're going to the moon.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. And maybe that's why, as you just intimated, they went back to F. Gary Gray for the Fast movies. So what I was going to ask you was that some of these people have reteamed up, but let's just get there really. So in Fast 8, it's F. Gary Gray that directs.
Okay.
And it stars the Stath and Charlize.
Oh, she's in the F movies too.
I didn't know that. I think that's the one that she comes into it. She comes in as a character called Cypher there. So I do wonder, because he parachutes in just for that one movie. A lot of them are done by the same couple of directors. Have done a lot of the movies. Particularly Justin Lin has done most of them. He comes in for this one. I think Justin Lin was off maybe doing Aquaman.
Oh,
I think he did that, didn't he?
No, that wasn't him. That was
is that James Wan?
James Wan.
Oh, okay, because James Wan does one Fast and Furious as well, so I'm getting those confused.
What?
Yeah.
The horror director does the Fast and Furious movie?
Yeah.
Because when they tapped him to do Aquaman, I was like, okay. I mean, Aquaman, there can be some scary shit down there, and he made it scary-ish, right? I didn't realize that he did one too. Wow, everybody does one. When are you doing your Fast movie? Are you doing Fast 11? Is that what it is?
Well, I hear 10 might be the last one, if you believe it.
I do not.
James Wan did Fast and Furious 7. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so the one before F. Gary Gray. So maybe it's the two that Justin Lin stepped out for whatever off he was off doing. Because then he comes back for 9 and 10, I believe.
And did he do Hobbs and Shaw? Justin Lin?
I don't think he did.
I haven't seen that either. I'm assuming I could watch that as a standalone and it wouldn't matter. I wouldn't have to get all the nuance of the Fast movies to understand Hobbs and Shaw.
You might just get away with it. You might just.
To watch.
Oh no, Hobbs and Shaw was David Leitch, the guy who did he do Atomic Blonde? But he worked with.
Oh, Charlize. Yeah. Nice. Wow. Okay.
And Deadpool and Atomic Blonde.
Gotcha. Atomic Blonde, boy, that's great. But anyway, that is crazy though. So I didn't realize that F. Gary Gray moved over there.
Yeah, you ruined my final question. But to be
sorry,
fair,
that's on me.
We got there anyway.
So, well, that makes perfect sense then. Yeah, that he would do it. I mean, he's a good action director. It's just, I just think, the fact that your first movie has set it off, it's kind of hard to, it's so good.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you hit immediately with the first one. Where'd you go from here?
Yeah, man, he is a really good director though. I think, so I'm glad he gets, because you know what, you go do one of those Fast 8, you do Fast 8, cash in, man. Then it gives you money to go do something else. I was talking to Gail about John Watts, because I didn't know she said something the other day. She's like, oh, did you see John's new project? Blah, blah, blah. She's going on about it. I'm not sure what it is. And she's trying to describe it. And I was like, are you talking about the old man? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I haven't watched it yet. I've been recording it. I'm waiting for it to end. She's like, yeah, that was John. So he went, he made he's the indie guy. He makes the Spider-Man movies. And then it's like, whatever you want to do. So it's like, I want to make this weird show with Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. So they're like, go. So, it gives you that opportunity to make whatever you want because you've made all the money. Because he's executive producing it himself.
Right. Nice. Okay.
So I'm sure if F. Gary Gray is like, I can go do one Fast movie.
Yeah.
And now I can executive produce.
That set me up for the next 10 years. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that, and that's what Emilio Estevez, he did Mighty Ducks 3 so he could make Bobby. She's like, yeah, we got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
What do we think then of this in terms of not quite the final score yet, but in terms of the Stath in his progression? Where are we at? So he's had the Transporter just before this and the one just before that. Where do we see this film sitting in his filmography?
Like, as an actor?
Yeah, where's he at?
I think it was smart of him to agree, and unlike Ed Norton, to not be top billing after doing The Transporter. I think it's smart. You're a lead. You know, I mean, I know he's like fourth billing in the one, right? Because Delroy Lindo and Carla, right? And rightfully so. I mean, fucking Delroy Lindo, you're not getting at that stage of your career, you're not going to be a higher bill than him. So I think it was smart. The Transporter was a risky move, right? At the time, they're like, can he be the second star? So I think this was a good idea to come back here. You get to be in a movie with Donald Sutherland and Charlize Theron and learn more.
Mark Wahlberg, Ed Norton, and F. Gary Gray, and
work with F. Gary Gray.
The cachet of the Italian job name, and
So I think this was a smart move, and I think it's important too because from here you see like why he agrees to be in Spy. He's third billing in Spy, or he's in Spy probably. But I think this shows you that he just wants to act and he wants to be in good things, and you don't always have to be the star. Is it sometimes just being in the movie is better than not being in the movie. So he definitely was that here. He could have passed, I suspect. Yeah. He's like, I just made The Transport. He could have he could become Scott Adkins. But I think and there's, again, sorry, Chris, but Scott Adkins is not Jason Statham.
Funnily enough, Dan, I just spoke about that on the Transporter episode.
Did you really? That's amazing. And I have not heard that one yet. Obviously it's not out as we were recording this. So I think by being in this is why he's not Scott Adkins.
Yeah. And despite him being maybe fourth billing here, it's still
he's listed fourth on IMDb.
Okay, but it's still easily his biggest movie. I mean, The Transporter was a 20 million budget, which was big for him at that point in his career. Here was suddenly up to 16 million. So for him to be fourth billing makes kind of sense in terms of the prestige of the film, in terms of the budget and the audience it's being made for. But it's certainly another one which helped kick him on, because the takings of this movie, what was it, 176 million or something, is
and he stands out. He steals a few scenes,
does,
and it's tough. I mean, you're because he shares so much screen time with Seth. It's hard to steal scenes from Seth. Yeah, but he does. Yeah, because he's just charmy and smarmy just enough. So no, I think it's really smart. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a PG-13 movie too. You want to come back down. You don't only just want to be, again, Scott Adkins. And again, I like Scott Adkins movies still. Listen, but he's not as good of an actor as the Stath. And this is why, because I think you have to, if you want to learn your craft, Charlize Theron, like you said, you're going to learn your craft. You're going to show up and you're going to, it'll be the star of some Mighty Joe Young or whatever, but she's like, I'm still going to be whatever. And I know arguably she's top billing in Fury Road. I think their names come up at
weird thing when they do like the one higher one. Yeah.
It's her movie, right?
Her movie.
Tom Hardy was like, I get to be Mad Max, but Charlize Theron's in this movie. And still, I think this is what you do. You do the right thing. This is the smart move if you want to become a better actor. So I think it's an excellent part of his progression, and you see it throughout his career. You see him click back down occasionally. It's like even the Expendables. I know he's second billing in the Expendables, but that's still a group picture. Yeah. He knows he's not the main draw there. He knows it's Stallone. He knows that first one Schwarzenegger and Willis are in, so he knows who he is. And then
I'd argue even the Meg as well. The Meg is more of an ensemble picture. Like, he's ostensibly the lead character, but that's a film built for an international audience with the Chinese actors, and I think he was quite happy to do it there too.
He's so fun and charming as fucking that too. Yeah. So no, I think it's smart. I think just like I think doing Spy was smart. Yeah. Good. I'm a fan. Yeah, I'm just looking at what he's got coming up. Boy.
So Meg 2, obviously, Expendables 4, and it's that Operation Fortune or something with Guy Ritchie, isn't it?
Yep, something called The Beekeeper. Yeah, you're going to be at this for a while, friend. You're not getting away. I heard you, and Killer Elite. I can't wait till you do Killer Elite. I know you guys were talking about that. You and Blake were talking a little bit about Killer Elite. I actually kind of think, that's pretty good. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So that's one he's not top billing in that.
No, that's true. He's not.
And then he's like, fuck it, I'll do Death Race. Roger Corman, blow you a sweet, sweet kiss, you magnificent bastard. I just can't, he's smart.
He has been from the start, or somebody working with him, as we said way back when, his agent or whoever he's got working with him is smart.
Unreal. Yeah.
All right, let me throw a couple of letterbox reviews your way, and then I'm going to get your final view on this.
I'm ready.
So the Lone Mercurian says,
what a name. Love that name.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a mixed bag, the Italian Job. It relies on its well-known cast to coast over a spotty plot and floundering dialogue. Mark Wahlberg has flashes, but as a whole is pretty bland. Charlize Theron puts in the work, but her character is handled with awkward kiddie gloves, even though she's a professional just like everyone else on the team. Edward Norton's performance is surprisingly flaccid. Jason Statham is classic Statham. Seth Green is a bit too twerpy. Mos Def is fine, but spends most of his time doing nothing because it's not his term. There's a reason.
That's well said. Aw.
There's a reason why Ocean's 11 has had multiple sequels, but the Italian Job is still waiting around for one that's been rumored for 15 years. There you go.
Wow.
I'm with you. I really like this film, but I kind of, I think there's some decent arguments there. And I think it's worth bringing up the Ocean's 11, actually, which we didn't do during our main discussion, because with this of being of a piece of Michael Caine remakes, it's also of a piece with this 60s, 70s heist movie update with Ocean's 11 and Gone in 60 Seconds and the Thomas Crown Affair, who all seem to have this.
All those remakes were very good. I actually liked all of them. Yeah,
the only one that doesn't really work is The Getaway with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger, which was Steve McQueen.
But they made that. They went over. Mila's in that too, right? They went over the top in The Getaway, right? Isn't that one that was like NC-17 because it was?
It's very racy.
I think that hurt it. I think they were trying to do something, and I think it worked against the film.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
All right, Maddie says, this film is paced nicely. It didn't feel like it went on for too long and managed to fit in a good amount of detailed storyline. The humor was solid, with some moments falling slightly flat, but the majority inducing a slight chuckle. What really carries this film so well through is the entertaining and easy dynamic between the leads of the film. Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, Jason Statham, Seth Green, and Yaslin Bey, I think I'm saying that right, which is Mos Def's
That's how he says his name now, yes. Yep.
Really do make a dream team. Their chemistry is fun and works incredibly well. So agreed. I think, agreed.
Yeah, it's an ensemble. And you've got a few ensembles upcoming for the Stath too, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I think it's good. I think you can be a good actor when you can be the lead, you can be the transporter, and then also say, I'm going to work with this talented group, because that could actually be more fun. It can lead to more connections. You can be like, oh, I'm in this movie. Now I met Donald Sutherland. So maybe that's going to open up a thing. I'm in a movie with Charlize Theron. That could open something up for me. You work with F. Gary Gray. I mean, he's the draw. If you're going to work with F. Gary Gray, I mean, everybody be like, yes, I would like to go be in a movie with you. So I think, just like Ghost to Mars, they wanted him to be the lead in Ghost to Mars, but they were like, well, he didn't back out. He's like, I'm still going to be in a Carpenter movie. I still get to fucking meet Pam Grier, even though she was phoning it in. It's Pam fucking Grier. You know what I mean? Like, that's a connection. Somebody's seeing that movie because Pam Grier's in it, because Ice Cube's in it, and then you've got the weird connection because Ice Cube and the Triple X, and you've got Vin Diesel, so it's all a weird universe. Maybe in a different universe, it's all in the same world. So I don't know.
Yeah. Uh-oh, we're going down the Tony.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it.
Coming.
Sorry.
A couple more. We've got Lou Shoemaker, who's becoming my regular feature. I'm gonna have to try and get in touch with him somehow.
Yeah, maybe he can come on.
Absolutely. He says periodically Jason Statham will show up to star in a traditional Hollywood action film, and it's almost always a mistake, except for, the money. Whereas his Euro actioners tend to have an offbeat sense of humor and bone-crunching action, Statham's Hollywood fare tends to be predictable and a little dull. Here, Jason Statham gets a decent amount of screen time, but he's relegated to playing a getaway driver in a gang full of getaway drivers, forced to play fifth banana behind Wahlberg, Theron, Norton, and somehow Seth Green. His only real cool moments come when other characters talk about how cool he is. So I think it's interesting.
That is. Huh. Yeah, you should definitely reach out to this person.
Yeah. And last but not least, Dan Burden 1138 says, Wahlberg doesn't make for a great lead, and Norton sleepwalks through his villain role. This would have been a lot more fun with Statham and Theron in the lead roles. Which perfectly backs
we
up.
agree. I agree. Yeah. I think it would have been a lot more fun with him in the lead role. But I think again, but that was not what he signed on for.
No, it wasn't. And this film wouldn't have got made with him at this point in the lead role.
For that budget.
No.
You're not building a special Mini Coopers for Jason Statham in 2003. That's not happening. No. Now I know he's got some busy years coming up. You know, like 2005, it looks like he's got 5 movies out or something. So he's got some busy times ahead. Where then, but now you could get it 60.
You build him a whole fleet of Mini Coopers for Jason Statham.
The Megalodon.
Yeah.
The way that he says it too, God, I can't wait for you to cover that. I love that movie. That was outrageous. It was so stupid. When I saw that trailer, I was like, am I having a stroke? Oh no. And
the sequel has been made by Ben Wheatley, who is like a renowned English indie filmmaker.
Wow.
He makes really weird, but really fascinating, interesting. So for him to sign on to this, the last thing he did was the Rebecca remake, which was actually
I saw that.
His biggest like budget movie, his most Hollywood, his biggest budget by a long way, compared to like A Field in England and other things that he's done. The Meg 2 is a really odd choice. He did Free Fire. You might have seen that.
I loved Free Fire.
Me too.
Yeah.
But again, indie, like kind of a early grimy Tarantino-esque Reservoir Dogs style.
Yeah. He did High Rise. Loved High Rise.
Did High Rise. Yeah. That's true.
Boy, he's got some. Well, that's small though.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like it's big, but it's not. The whole thing's filmed like in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a high rise, but not really.
It's going to be really interesting what he does with this budget and this cast and this scale. Is going to be fascinating. We might get an indie Megalodon.
I'm in. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna watch it no matter what. Yeah, cool.
So, the Stath, the Italian Job, classic, worth catching, or completist only?
I have to say classic, not because of him, but because of a movie. So if you're doing it just for Stath, you're like, I want to see Stath, just worth catching.
Sure.
But I think as a film, it's classic. So can I cheat and say both?
Of course you can. There's no rules here. You say what you want.
Yeah. No, I think,
therefore there is no rules.
Yeah. What do you say? What say you?
I agree. I think for the Stath, it's a worth catching movie. I think it's good fun. I'm not sure I would go quite as far as saying it's a classic, but I think you have a personal connection to it that makes this much more special for you. I do think it's a very well-made remake of a much beloved film, and I think it holds up.
And that's always hard. It's not always easy.
It is.
That Rebecca, like you talked about just right now, that original Rebecca, won a bunch of awards, and that remake wasn't great. It was fine. The book is, I know you're going to shock to hear me say that, but in this case, the book is 1,000 times better than both pictures.
Sure.
It's hard to capture. It's hard to capture a film where the lead doesn't have a name. And you don't realize that when you're watching it, you're like, is she Rebecca? What the fuck is going on? And you're like, oh, she doesn't have a name. And Lily was great. I mean, she's always great. But so I would say, I agree. As a Stath, it's just worth catching. If you've got 100 minutes, sit down and watch the shit out of this. It's definitely not for complete film. I mean, this is not that. This is a very good film. And I think as a film, it's classic. It's worthy of a sequel. It's a lot of big egos now. I don't know how to get everybody back in the room. I don't know. But, I would watch it.
Yeah.
You could even, what you could do is here's what I would do. If everybody's listening, if Ed Norton's a pain in the ass to work with, which is what I hear, he's not the villain. Kiefer Sutherland. Dust him off.
Nice.
Long lost son. There's your story.
I like it.
Yeah, like the Die Hard 3. You bring a Gruber back.
Yeah. Bring a Bridger back.
That's what you do. And then that would be awesome. I would watch that. And I would believe Kiefer Sutherland and Charlize Theron dislike each other. Like I could believe they could act that, pull that off, and be like siblings who hate each other. Dad always liked you best. Well, of course, because I'm not an asshole and whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make the next Fast and Furious movie, and you're going to make the not Brazilian Job.
Not the Australian Job. Because you film it in Australia anyway. I mean, they built Memphis to shoot Elvis in Australia. Might as well just film it in Australia and call it the Australian Job. And just have it be like part Priscilla Queen of the Desert, where you're like a bus through the desert and then Mini Coopers in the desert. They would not make it very far. I believe Mini Coopers in a tunnel through the water. I don't believe them in the desert with sand. But that was my that's what I think. This was a joy. Thanks for letting me be on twice this early. I appreciate it. And I think am I not back on until Death Race?
Is that right? Oof.
I don't know.
People are gonna have to wait a long time again.
Whoa. I mean, I'll come. I mean, if
can
you
they
need
cope?
me, I will, because we've got other things that we do together. So they want to hear us talk. We've got plenty of things they can hear us say.
We do.
Yeah.
I think you might be right though. I'm looking at my list. Yeah. Been on for a while.
Yeah, so are you gonna? The big question is, are you actually doing Collateral?
Yeah, I'm actually doing Collateral. I'm just not doing his uncredited movies. So I'm not doing Pit Panther. I'm not doing Fast. I think it might be Fast 7.
6 is what
Past
it says on
6.
here.
Okay,
Yeah.
because he's only in the very end as like a cameo uncredited role. So I'm not doing those, but he is credited in Collateral. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's Mike and Megan coming on for that. And we're going to obviously discuss the film, but I want to do a what if. Because if rumors are to be believed, Stath was going to be Vincent until Tom Cruise said, "Oh, I'd quite like to do that." And of course, Michael Mann went, "All right, then you've got the role," which is why he gave Stath that fun little cameo within the movie. So I would like to have a what if discussion.
Wow.
What if the Stath was Vincent?
That'll be fun. I can't wait to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I think then Jamie Foxx would have won the Oscar.
Sure.
He got nominated for this, right? And I think being in a Tom Cruise movie always hurts you. But I think if Stath were Vincent, then Jamie Foxx would have won the Oscar for supporting actor. That's what I think. That's my what if.
Also, my what if, slight spoiler, the film would have to have ended differently because I don't buy the end of the film anyway. It's the one thing of that film I don't like. The Hollywood ending. But there's no way Jamie Foxx is getting the Stath.
And here's the thing, Michael Mann, that's not his normal thing.
No.
I mean, you can say Heat is sort of a Hollywood ending when Ashley Judd does the hand wave, but not really. I mean, he's dead. Chris dies. Nobody thinks Chris lives, right? At the end, Chris being Val Kilmer. So, I mean, he's bleeding out. So it's just not a Michael Mann thing to do.
No.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear it. I haven't watched Collateral in a long time.
No, I'm looking forward to watching that again.
Speaking of Jada, she's in that.
She is.
Yeah, she has unfortunately become a victim of herself.
She has.
She's like Angelina Jolie. Sometimes your being the person you are works against your talent, and that's not fair. Angelina Jolie is still an amazing actor. Those Who Wish Me Dead was awesome. Salt is, of course, but because she's her and she's an activist and people don't like her politics and people don't like her relationship with Brad Pitt and all that other stuff, she gets shit on and people don't want to see her movies, but she's a fine director. She's a really good actor. So Jada's the same way. Jada's still a really good actor. Like even what she did Girls Trip, she was good in that too. I mean, she just, because she's her, it works against her and that's not fair.
Agreed.
She's not like eating babies or anything. She's just stating her opinion. And just because you don't like it, it doesn't mean she's not a good actor. She's not saying awful things. Anyway, that's a different rabbit hole. Well, I'm excited. I wasn't sure if you were going to do it because he's really not in it very much.
He's really not, but that's how I'm going to spin it. And hopefully it will turn into a really interesting
No, that'll be fun. And then, Transporter 2, you've got some bangers coming up, man.
We do.
I don't think I've seen London. Oh, that's Dane Cook.
Nobody's volunteered for that one, funnily enough.
Oh,
so
you
may be coming back earlier than you thought.
I've never seen it, but I'm looking at it. And Dane Cook is in that. We were just talking about him. Chris Evans. He's got 2 with Chris Evans.
He does. Fairly close together as well.
Wow. I like Cellular a lot. Oh, fuck. Louis C.K. is in that movie. Isla Fisher. All right. I'll do it.
Great.
Yeah.
This is some live scheduling for everybody at the end of the podcast.
Wow. That's fantastic. I had no idea. All right.
There we go. Done.
All right. I didn't know it was a thing. There's somebody's character is called Nipple Man.
Steve the Nipple Man, maybe.
Have you seen this film before?
I have seen it once before, and
it can't be good.
It isn't very good. No.
Oh well, here under
it
the
made
tags,
about £50,000, I think, something like that.
Nice. In the tags, it says bare butt is one of the tags. So
fantastic.
Is it?
Let's hope it's the States, or is it America's ass? Who knows?
America's ass.
Either way, we win.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for letting me talk about this. And apparently, I'll be on in a month or so.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No,
brilliant.
More than that, because you're at fortnightly.
I am fortnightly. So yeah.
Yeah. Sometime in September, we'll talk about Revolver or London. What did we say? London. All right.
Yeah. Superb. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, friend.
And thank you, everyone, for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the Stath filmography. That was The Italian Job. And as we've just been saying, next up in a fortnight is Collateral, followed by Cellular. And then very soon, with Tony coming back, London. I am Jax Musings, that's JACS. And you can find me on Twitter, where I am most active. You can also contact the show directly on Twitter under the name Back to the Filmog. Make sure you use the hashtag #FollowTheFilmography. This show has been presented to you by the Pop Gorillas. a collection of hive minds who provide spoiler-free reviews of anything from pop culture in less time than it takes to listen to a song. I'm also a proud member of the Comics Emotion family, a super place full of the world's greatest people dedicated to bringing you podcasts on a variety of geeky topics. So please make sure you take the time to search, subscribe, and rate our shows whenever and wherever you listen. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.